Let's consider for a moment why brands, influencers and businesses are so keen to increase their social media following. One obvious reason is social proof. The reality is that without a large enough follower base, acting as testimony to your great product, content, brand or website, most people will not even give you a try. To understand the importance of social proof, just consider Stanley Milgram's classic experiment. People were passing by a street, observing what was unknown to them, one or more people from Milgram's research team. Let's call this the fake group. The fake group was looking up towards something on the 6th floor of a building, where nothing really happened. When one researcher was looking up, the people passing by did not look up. However, when several people were looking up, the people passing by did most often look up. In brief, the more researchers were looking up, the more people were taking the same action as well. Dan Ariely, in his book Predictably Irrational, gives the example of many high-end restaurants and clubs. The owners sometimes pay people, particularly in slower periods, to queue up, providing social proof that the restaurant or club is busy and popular. By doing this, the owners leverage the principle of herding behavior, which refers to the fact that we assume something is good or bad based on other people's behavior. Look, just really think hard about your behavior. How many times have you entered an empty restaurant? I mean, the restaurant must be empty for a reason, right? Just like restaurant owners, marketers know that great products will not sell without help from the herd. And to grow their social profiles, businesses sometimes use social media automation tools which enable stuff like following and non-following profiles, like, share, the old school comment spinning, and lately AI generated comments too. Many companies also buy fake followers, which up to a point is not necessarily a bad strategy. For example, we have one client who initially purchased fake followers and likes, and they are now growing their followers by posting and promoting great content, building relationships, and so on. Many white hat SEOs, social media consultants and digital marketers dismiss this practice and will strongly advise you against it. But personally, I think this is more down to ego and self-perception than to common sense. The reality is that the rich get richer, and more reviews attract more purchases, more people willing to connect with you, and more business. Okay, the white hat guy will say, but people check your social profile and know that your connections are fake. However, let me ask you a simple question. How often do you go on YouTube, find some great content from a guy with 50k followers, and then before subscribing, you launch an investigation to the type of followers they have? The answer is simple. Your time is scarce, so in reality you will simply follow the herd and subscribe, assuming that their content is purple cow level. So in reality, the number of connections plus the content you post will trigger an action from your audience. Just keep in mind once again that I'm still emphasizing the critical importance of purple cow content. In brief, the number of followers to your channel sets an expectation for the level of quality of your content. Just make sure you meet that expectation. At this point, I need to emphasize once again that the fake following acts as a quick hack to confirm the quality of your purple cow content to real users. After all, if there are no social proof to confirm the quality of your content, most people, like in Amazon example, will not watch, read or subscribe. But why grow your social media follower base in the first place? Well, one benefit is that our followers become part of a group of people with some sort of similar characteristics or backgrounds. In fact, membership in various groups represents the perfect opportunity to exploit and leverage the principle of similarity. For example, psychology professor Richard Wiseman points out, I quote, "Regardless of whether the similarity is in dress, speech, background, age, religion, politics, drinking and smoking habits, food preferences, opinions, personality, or body language, we like people who are like us and find them far more persuasive than others. Basically, we like people that are similar to us and we trust them more as well." In addition, there are countless studies pointing out the tendency of people to conform and to adopt the beliefs of the group, often even at the expense of their own beliefs. A classic experiment is provided by an experiment carried out by Solomon Asch. Asch showed participants a line drawn on paper and asked them to match it to a line from another paper. On that paper, there were several lines of different lengths, including the correct one. Without the knowledge of the subjects, the other group members were in fact part of the research team. So, in reality, at all times, there was only one real participant in the group. The participant was scheduled to answer the question last, after all the other group members provided the answers. Throughout the experiment, the fake participants were often pointing out to the wrong line, even though the correct answer was obvious. So, what answer do you think the participant gave? Just remember that he was last to answer after seeing lots of incorrect answers from the fake group members. Did he go with the wrong answer, or did he point to the correct line? Well, as you probably guessed, the body language of the participants showed that they were very surprised by the group's choice. And yet, 50 to 80% of them went along with the group. Let's look a bit more at how this works in practice by taking recommendations as an example. To begin with, tools like Amazon's "people who bought this also bought that" generally help us avoid decision paralysis, which is normally triggered by an almost unlimited choice. But why do we trust recommendations? Why do we actually trust Amazon's algorithm and other people's preferences? Well, consider books. For example, every time I buy a book, I associate myself with the type of person that reads the book: innovative, open-minded, and so forth. Of course, the assumption is that the group of people purchasing the same book is also innovative, open-minded, and savvy. So I infer the traits of the group from the purchasing behavior. At the same time, given the research on similarity, I know that I trust similar people more than I trust others. Hence, I also trust the recommendations more. So, unintentionally, I am now a member of a group of people having similar reading interests and purchases. Now, when the group purchases a new book and it shows in my "people also bought this" recommendation section, I have to purchase the book as well, or at least to check it out. And when I buy a new book, another member of the group will also be influenced by my purchasing behavior. This is in fact how virality works. Of course, Amazon's "people like you also bought this" or "people who bought this also bought that" algorithm will take the heavy lifting and brilliantly leverage this principle to make me buy. In fact, this process is very well captured by psychologist Robert Trivers in his book Deceit and Self-Deception, where he concludes, I quote, "Within each group, individuals are misoriented in the same direction, easily reinforcing each other. One interesting point to make is that it is not people in general that influence my purchasing behavior. It is the stereotype associated with the reading behavior of the group that influences me in buying, or at least consider my next book." Okay, but how powerful is the impact of the stereotype I associate myself with? Well, several studies described by Tali Sharot in her book The Optimist Bias found that when reminded about their membership or perceived membership to a group based on race, gender, or hey, why not, book preferences, people are 3 times as likely to be influenced by the stereotype associated with a group. To re-emphasize this, I am 3 times more likely to buy a book when people similar to me also bought this. Social media networks are prone to conformity as well. In fact, as we will see later, the type of social group you are part of makes all the difference. Okay, let's stop here for the moment, but we'll continue in the next session. Thank you for watching.